really hard to move just like that. All right, if we could all stand and place our hand over our heart. And let's read this together. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. You may be seated. I met our teacher today after moving to Ashland. Since being here, I have watched her as she has proven what a strong mother and a prayer warrior she is. She has a great love for people and a passion for winning souls. This woman I have seen win souls that I myself have tried to talk to first, and she goes right up behind me and they're like, yep, let's go. So, with no further ado, it's time for a little bit of honey. Our teacher is Kelly Marshall with her title, The Leaf That Wouldn't Let Go. For once again trusting me up here, and thank you for your kind words. That humbles me greatly. But my title is kind of strange, right? The Leaf That Wouldn't Let Go. Bear with me, it makes sense later. But when I went to Turning Point with my husband before we got transferred here, we were both starving for soul winning. We were hungry. We wanted to do it, but we didn't really know how. We didn't have all the tools. And I saw an advertisement for Matt Maddox' Soul Winners Boot Camp. And I saw that it was a couple hours away from the church that we went to. And I told my husband, I said, I don't understand why, but I feel a pull. I need to go to this thing. And he said, well, I don't really understand, and I don't really think I'll go, but if you want to go, go ahead. You can go. And which is great, but we had a dilemma, which was that our church wanted to go. There were 6 or 7 other people that wanted to, but we didn't have the funds that God provided, because he provided me with the money to be able to fund it. And God spoke to me and said, you need to fund it for yourself, but you also need to fund it for the others so that the whole church can go that wants to go. And I was like, okay, God. So we went. And when we got there, there was 120, I think it was, 100, it was in the hundreds, that got baptized in one day at a block party. And there was 90 some of those that got the Holy Ghost. And I'm telling you, it put a fire in me. It put a fire in me, and I was like, I want this. I don't understand it all, but I want it. And there was a guy there, and he won 18 souls himself at this block party. And I just kind of watched. I kind of followed around. I'm like, how is he doing this? And I went up to him after he did what he did, and I said, I want to know your secret. I want to know how you did this. And he spoke to me. He said, the Holy Ghost. And he did this little jig and stuff. Not going to lie to you, it kind of frustrated me, because I was like, obviously the Holy Ghost. I was like, I know it's the Holy Ghost, but how do you do it? And so I just kind of shadowed soul winners at this thing. And I took back what I knew, and I hate to say I didn't want a single soul with that one. I was so awkward. I'd just run up to random people and be like, you want to get baptized? I didn't even talk to them yet. And they were like, what are you talking about? You know, and they didn't even hear any of the spill yet. So, you know, I was not great that first time. I was like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was hungry, and I took it back. Well, when I came back, God prepared a storm. And this was about a decade or 11 years ago, somewhere around in there. And it was a customized storm to teach me something, because I've always been a person that went pretty much by feeling mostly alone. I'm just being real with you. I come from dabbling in a lot of things before God. I ghost hunted. I dabbled in witchcraft slightly. I was on the hunt for something to feel, something that was untangible. I didn't know what it was at the time. I was looking for God. I was looking for something bigger than me, more powerful. Unfortunately, through that, I did dabble with some stuff, and some things did. I've experienced some pretty creepy stuff. But, you know, in that, when I crossed over and became a Christian and served God and became apostolic, some of those old habits of going by feeling kind of traveled with me. And God wanted to change that. No better way than a test. And I'm going to tell you, it was not an easy one. First, it started with a dream. I had a dream. There was a big field of wheat, and there was a pathway down the middle. And there was a big bed of water. And I go to cross to this field, and a big snake's laying across the pathway. And I picked up a rock, and I threw it at the snake, and it curled up and came back. It did it 5 times. And on the 5th time, the snake broke, and I heard babies crying. And I look in the water, and there's some of my husband's family and some other people standing in the water. and I woke up. And I didn't really understand that until later in the trial. Basically, I went to bed, and I felt God, I felt the peace, just feeling everything. Felt good, bad, ugly, everything in between. I went to bed, and I woke up the next day, and I couldn't feel God at all. When I say at all, nothing. I would pray, and I'd be like, God, where are you at? Nothing. This went on for 5 months, guys. 5 months. I felt nothing but the bad. And I felt like God. I was like, where is he? What? And I'd pray and I'd cry and I'd be like, God, where are you at? I thought you were always going to be with me. Remember, it was said here before, the teacher's always quiet during the test. He was quiet. And I was really uncomfortable in this. But as a result, I started pouring myself into the Word. I started listening more intently to the preaching. And God spoke to me that he's teaching me something. And I went down about a month and a half, 2 months into this to my mom's house. And I noticed there was a branch beside of her piano. It was a long, skinny branch, and there was one little leaf on the top of it. And I was like, what in the world is she having a tree branch in her living room for? So I asked her, I said, why is there a tree branch in here with a leaf on it? And she said, it's the weirdest thing. She said, remember that big storm we had? She said, that storm shook every single leaf off that branch, but this one little leaf would not let go. She said, I don't understand it. She said, it should not be on this branch. And I thought that was cool, so I kept it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go back into my storm. About a month passes, and my mom calls me. She said, I figured out why that leaf did not let go. And I was like, okay, I got to hear this, because I couldn't get it out of my mind. It was like God stuck it there. And my mom spoke this to me. She said, look close at this leaf. When I went over to her house, she said, look close at it. You'll notice there's a spider web wove around this leaf, and it's holding it to this branch. And if you look inside of the leaf, there's an egg case where that spider laid its eggs, and it planted a seed in there. And for the first time, God spoke to me in the storm. He was quiet for the whole 5 months, but he spoke this one thing. He said it was not the ability of the leaf that held on through that storm. It was the web wrapped around, that web of protection that spider wrapped around. And that seed was a promise of kids, to that spider, and it was protecting that seed. And God spoke to me just during the storm. And I went 5 months, and then I started feeling again. And God reminded me of that dream. That 5 months was to prepare me for the harvest, for souls. Because when you become a soul winner, I'm here to tell you, it's warfare. You're going to feel stuff. When you get out on these streets, you're going to feel things. And if you don't go by his promises, his word, his spirit, what he tells you to say or do, you might miss something, And God was teaching me. And he told me, I was never gone through your storm. But I was teaching you not to go by your feelings only. He gives us a gut check sometimes, and he does allow feelings to come so that we can discern things and pray. But we can't go only on what we feel. We have to go on his promises and his word.
Amen.
And in Isaiah 41:10, it says, and this is the Amplified version, it says, do not fear anything, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Be assured, I will help you. I will certainly take hold of you with my righteous right hand, a hand of justice, of power, of victory, and salvation. Do you feel like you're in a storm right now where your life is being shook? I can speak from experience. I have been through a few of those, and I'm in a storm currently. But I'm telling you, hold on, little leaf, because God's the one that's carrying you. He's the one that's got you. It's not our ability, but he will keep his word. Don't go by your feelings. You could have everything attacking you. But if God said it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So keep holding on. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit.